Let's see the papers. Let's see the headlines on some of the major Nigerian newspapers today. Let's begin with the Tribune. Tribune says, "Our attack, Southwest governors declare 3-day mourning." Southwest governors declare 3-day mourning on over the Owo attack. All right. From there, let's go to the Daily Times. Daily Times says, "Democracy Day. Buhari vows to ensure transparent presidential election and transition." Democracy Day, Buhari vows to ensure transparent presidential election transition. And let's go to Nigerian News Direct. Democracy Day is the focus here. Abiodun Fintiri grant pardon to 46 inmates, commute death sentences of 7. As Lagos, Benue, Kogi, other governors make case for good governance. Right? They're all on Democracy Day. Daily Trust. Nigerians seek more dividends. Democracy Day is the focus here. We must get it right in 2023. Governors are saying, don't use religion, ethnicity for campaign. CCD tells politicians. Abiodun Fintiri free 46 inmates as the governors of Ogun and Adamawa State. Let's go to The Guardian. Emulate Abiola, save Nigeria's democracy. That's what The Guardian newspaper has in there. Emulate Abiola, save Nigeria's democracy. Okay. From there, let's go to the Blueprint newspaper. Buhari on 2023. My successor will emerge through peaceful, transparent process. My successor will emerge through peaceful, transparent process. That's what the Blueprint newspaper has. This Nigeria is next. 2023 presidential election. Muslim ticket won't fly. Can warns APC, PDP, others as a Christian Association of Nigeria. Right? Muslim ticket won't fly. Right? From there, let's go to First News. War in Akwa Ibom as Akpabio ex-DIG fight over senatorial ticket. Right? War in Akwa Ibom as Akpabio ex-DIG fight over senatorial ticket. Okay? Let's go to Business Day. Atiku Tinubu eye market economy as Buharinomics fails. Atiku Tinubu eye market economy as Buharinomics fails. Buharinomics. I guess that's the new study or discipline coming up, I must say. All right, it's just a way of qualifying a few things. The Leadership newspaper, as Buhari's administration winds down in 11 months, Nigeria still grapples with terrorism, kidnappings, and killings. That's what the Leadership newspaper has, right? From there, let's go to Abuja Inquirer. Area councils uneasy calm ahead of swearing in and House Security report hastening the process. Okay, all that on the front page of the Abuja Inquirer. Business AM, Nigeria under pressure over global energy transition, says Mackenzie. All right, that's the Business AM. Financial Times, okay, this takes us to seeing things from the global perspective. U.S. set to plunge into recession next year, economists predict. Right, if you're following what's going on, the reason for concern here and there. The National is next. EU seeks UAE help for development projects in Africa. Okay. All right. EU seeks UAE help for development projects in Africa. The Independent is next. And Tory left over Johnson's plan to override protocol. This is from the UK. All right. That talks politics of the United Kingdom. Right. Now, Democracy Day, if you listen to so many television and radio stations over the weekend and even up until this morning, a lot of comments around democracy. Are we there yet? Are we close to where we're supposed to be? How far we are? How we're not getting it right? A lot of people have accused leaders using all sorts of names to qualify why we're not getting it right. They try to compare what Nigeria is to a country like Ghana or even Rwanda or even South Africa or even the United Arab Emirates on one hand, and so on. But all of this, like Sam said earlier, it's an evolving thing where no one gets it. America is over 200 and how many years? Over 200 years, but they're still trying to find their feet and still trying to get it right one way or the other. No one even imagined or thought that the attack on the Capitol during the last election would have taken place not in the United States.
Yeah, as we are speaking, there's a committee going on now over the uprising that took place on January 6th in the United States. The big culprit is actually the former president of the United States, because he had created a bandwagon of denial that the election was actually won by him, and so on. So it has created big problem within the democracy, and we know that democracy is always a fragile proposition. It depends on institutions, it depends on the people, and depends on rules before it can work. We don't know what would have happened if Mike Pence, the former U.S. Vice President, had not followed the rule. If he had said that
I support Trump,
the election was not valid, what would have happened? Because the old democracy was a little string that was hanging on him. And if he had just cut it, what would have happened to the whole model of American democracy that the whole world had looked at as the
benchmark,
as the light on the mountain, that is one of the problems I would think. And then we talk about democracy today, even in our own society. We're talking of June 12, and we're talking of MKO Abiola. MKO Abiola was not a perfect man. At one time, MKO Abiola was laughed at by everybody, even people who came to fight for him as democracy icon, were those who had contempt for him. But he became the rallying point. They said it was this rich man who was spending his money everywhere, who was bribing people to like him, who was part of the imperialist oppression of Nigeria, working with ITT, that he was an American spy. There was nothing they didn't say about MKO Abiola. Yeah, today, he's the hero of our democracy.
Of course, he is.
You see, that's why we always be careful about demonizing people, because as the playwright said in Galileo, what's his name? Bertolt Brecht said in Galileo, said, no man's virtue is complete. The great Galileo loved to eat. In other words, no matter how great you are,
people will still find fault.
In the scriptures, Paul, who was regarded to be perhaps the one who wrote the most to elucidate the scripture, was actually a gangster. But it turned out to be the one that became, he said, I'm not a whit behind any of the apostles. So it was like he was the head of them.
Exactly.
That those people, the man who was pushed aside has become the head of the corner.
What I need to do is, I think we need to pay a visit to his library. We must pay a visit to your library. Exactly.
But, fascinating. All these comparisons are really fascinating. First, when you look at the personality of former President Trump in the U.S., at a point he was even revered by a growing number of Americans at the time who felt, okay, his protectionist agenda, we seem to find this welcome, unlike previous governments who say, okay, let's open up, be the big brother of the whole world. But he decided to, come back home.
America first. At
a point, it was even like the economy was growing under his drive. And then look at what happened, the dastardly Capitol attack, and then that seemed to be, like an eye-opener for that. And then coming back home, I looked at the Ekpetedo speech that the late MKO Abiola gave a year after that poll that everyone, concluded he won. And when you look at the ills, that speech was so symbolic even now, where he said Nigeria's image had taken a dip due to fraud, drug trade, illegal drug trade, 419, that's, of course, cyber scams. Even then,
of course.
That's why the word 419.
Exactly.
The 419. The Naira, and so many other, key things that we are still, contending with now. But then everyone would like to, end with the positive notes that President Buhari's speech gave yesterday. In spite of all the ills, everyone is still urged, to play our part in ending security, the security problems bedeviling the nation, and, so many other things. So there's so many takeaways from the president's speech on Sunday yesterday. We'll see how, of course, people are still reacting, like you said. Do you find it that we have anything to rejoice on? But some of us will still say, okay, there may be, some positives that we can look forward to for a better Nigeria eventually.
And we also forget that MKO was not expected to fight for his mandate. Many people thought, oh, it's a rich man. He and Babangida will now reconcile. They will give him contract and so on. At one time, people were saying all kinds of expletives about June 12. Say, on June 12 we sleep. On June 12 we bend. The beginning was that on June 12 we stand. And then after a while, people started falling by the wayside. And people started saying on June 12 we sit, on June 12 we sleep, on June 12 we forget, on June 12, all kinds of things. And they thought that Abiola will collapse. But Abiola did not collapse. Abiola maintained his stand. And all those who were civil society groups, human rights fighters and so on, who had thought that Abiola will collapse, will give up, continue to see that this man was not going to give up. In fact, if you read the book by Dr. Yemi Ogumbi, The Road Never Forgets, he wrote about an episode where he visited Abiola while in Abacha's detention, in which a very prominent man, another prominent man from his ethnic group, came to visit him on behalf of the military. They came to ask him whether he was bent on continuing or he was going to renege on his mandate. And Yemogumi reports that the man fled up. So I've told you, I don't want to give up my mandate. This matter is already sealed. Whatever you want to do, you can go and do. But I am not giving up the mandate. So that is one thing. Because people thought that the man was so comfortable, he was rich, he had connections all over the world, he had money that a million people in their million generations cannot have. And yet you are fighting for democracy. Why don't you just give it up and go and enjoy your life?
What do you not have?
The man said no.
What do you not have?
He said when he saw Abiola's feet were swollen. He was in high spirits nonetheless, but he was not in the greatest of health.
Indeed.
Well, so we must recognize that democracy is a struggle.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
When we talk about the struggle for democracy, it is not perfect people that do it. It is human beings like us that get resolved. And then people band against them. That's what Yoruba say in your last show. People are my clothes. People are my. People cover my nakedness. Indeed. So it is that propelled him. Right. He sensed that he had people out there who had faith in him, who had faith in an idea, and he went on with it.
All right. Well, we'll keep the struggle on one way or the other. All the institutions, a searchlight on all of them, institutions that make up the democracy that we all talk about. However, the only thing there is whether we are all supposed to practice democracy the way the West has it. We often make that reference. Whether we're supposed to have our own ingredient of what democracy is to us based on our peculiarities and all of that, but then it's still a struggle. Everybody's still trying to find the shape of what it's supposed to be as we move on. It's an evolution.